Hey everyone, my name is Fitz, and I'm here to talk to you about law school. I am 1 month in to my law school career at UC Hastings here in San Francisco, and I thought that I would go and I would make this video series. This is my first video. I thought that I wanted to help people make this decision. I wanted to walk you through my law school career for the next 3 years. And I think that there are certain things, certain opinions, certain situations in which would actually help a lot of people make this decision. Not only to go to law school in the first place, but then once you're in law school, what can you do? What do you really expect? So I thought that I would start this video series, and depending on how popular it is, maybe I'll continue. If you guys want to hear certain situations, oh, what was this class like? I hear you're doing this or that. What was that like? What do you do? Is this a good idea to do this or not? I'm here to help. I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to provide insights. I'm here to just help. That's all I want to do, and that's all I really, really like to do. A little bit about background about me, just so you say, why the hell should we listen to you? I've been working in the legal field in various capacities for about 8 years. I went to City College in Santa Barbara, and I worked personally for a lawyer there, a really, really great, amazing guy. And then from there, I worked at the Superior Court of San Francisco down in Santa Barbara, and I was the personal assistant for Judge Colleen Stern. And then from there, I worked for about a year at a firm called Hollister and Brace, and they primarily did torts and civil cases for a bunch of people in Santa Barbara and Montecito going back and forth suing each other. And then from there, I came up here to San Francisco, and I worked for a medical clinic called San Francisco Multi-Specialty Medical Group, and essentially worked as a liaison between that hospital and the state, where I would talk about legal claims of their personal benefits. And then there I worked for the United States Senate, and this is all in undergrad, and I worked for the United States Senate first for about 7 months in Washington, D.C. for Senator Maria Cantwell. And then from there, for my last semester in undergrad, I went and worked for Dianne Feinstein in her local office here in San Francisco. And then once I graduated, I went and I got a job at Google, where I was working in their their legal department for 3 years. And then I left Google, which was, so sad. No free food for me anymore. And I went over and started Hastings. And like I said, about a month in, absolutely loving it. And I thought that I would share some of my insights and hopefully help anyone who's going and watching this now to say, okay, I'm thinking about law school, or I'm in law school, or I just finished the LSAT, or I just completed my applications. All these kinds of things. These are all steps that require information. These are all steps that you want to make and make sure that you're making the right decision. I think that I've done a pretty good job. I think that I have something to say that people would actually care about. And so I'm going to try to keep these videos pretty short. I'm going to try to label exactly what those subjects are so that you can skip through all the stuff. If you say, yeah, I know that. Oh, that's an interesting topic. Okay, let's talk about that. And these are all going to be fairly either law school or legal based. There are going to be certain times where I think that an event that I did, or a activity that I participated in, or a legal case or a legal concept is super interesting, and so I might want to talk about that. But that really depends on you guys. So if you want to hear something specific, let me know. Naturally, if you want to hear, oh, what's 3L like? You might have to wait about 2 years for that. However, I have a lot of friends who are actually in law school and just finished or are in their third year, and so I can kind of get their comments or maybe bring them in for an interview or something, but that would actually be really fun to do. So just let me know what you guys want to know. But other than that, I'm just going to do probably about a weekly series, a weekly video, where we talk about law school. We talk about, in this week, what we learned. Who knows? It might help you. But either way, I'm doing this for two reasons. Number one, because I want to help people. And number two, because I want to, talking about things is a really great way to learn them again. So teaching people is a great way to learn. So if I have a legal concept and I go and I explain it to you guys, then that's a great way to help me. So I really, really hope that I can help you guys out with this. So this video is the first video. Got the introduction out of the way, and so now we are starting your legal journey. Congratulations. Welcome to the world of considering going to law school. There are lots and lots of things that you should do prior to going to law school. Right now, maybe you're in high school, maybe you're in college, maybe you're post-college, and saying, okay, I'm working in this job, but I think I can do more, or I want to do more, and so I'm thinking about going to law school. That's first of all, a great idea. I am a huge fan of law school. I really, really enjoy what I'm doing right now, and I've enjoyed the 7 years up to this point. So I think that that's a great idea to go and consider it. However, there are lots of things to consider when you're thinking about going to law school. The basic things like it's an enormous amount of work. Another basic thing, it costs a lot of money. So you want to make sure that you are making this decision with all the information. You want to make sure that you're making the right decision, and you want to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. It's a lot of work. It's definitely a lot of work. You have a lot of reading. Okay, I have 200 pages to read tonight for tomorrow's class. Fantastic. The next day, I have another 100 pages to read. And when you get into school and when you get into, talking to the professor and stuff, they're going to say, all right, that's very interesting. Tell me what page that's on. What word did you say really kind of made the difference in this case? Can you tell me, and this is what a lot of professors, my professors anyway, say, tell me the money paragraph, which is, tell me the money paragraph. It's, where's the place where the court said, this party wins because? There are cases that are 30 pages long. There are cases that are 2 pages long. There are cases that are just the fact patterns are completely convoluted. There are cases that were tried and decided in 1907 that you're going to be going and reading in old-timey English, very odd things. I don't understand why I'm reading about harbor commissioners during World War II. Well, you will learn pretty soon. But you're considering it. You're considering law school. Okay, what do I do now? Well, I think that right now you are in the information gathering stage. So there are 3 things that you should be doing in this stage. The first thing, number 1, talk to people. Just talk. You want to talk to as many lawyers and as many people who have gone through this process or are going through it right now as you possibly can. I think that I did a pretty good job of deciding from a pretty young age that I wanted to go to law school, and then every single time I found someone in the legal profession, or I found a lawyer, or I had an opportunity to read a book or something, I always took it because I understood that this was a big decision. I wanted to make sure I was making the right one. So yeah, go reach out to people, ask them out for coffee, make them feel like they're the center of the universe, because then they'll want to talk to you. They'll want to help you out. They'll say, yeah, as soon as you start studying for the LSAT, as soon as you start doing your applications, give me a call, write me an email, because then I can read your essay for you or something like that. I mean, these are great resources, and people like to be tapped for resources because it makes them feel valued. It makes them feel like they have something to say and they're important in your life. And that's the best thing in the world, because they are. So why not? Why not go and talk to them? You don't want to make this choice uninformed. I think that it's not terribly hard to go and find lawyers, especially if you live in a big city or live close to a big city. Walk into a law firm and say, hey, I don't have a question or anything like that. What I wanted to do was have lunch with one of the lawyers. Again, I'm not asking for legal advice. What I'm asking for is career advice. I want to know if going to law school would be a right thing to do. Go have coffee with them. Go have a drink with them. Go chill. But the best way to learn things is to go and just get them talking. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely loved when professors, I love when anyone who's giving me advice or teaching me something goes off on a story, goes off on a tangent, because they go all around the world and then they come back to their point. And that's when I think that you really learn a lot of things. That's when I think that you really start to get down to the crux of the matter, or cover other things that weren't originally part of the question. I was lucky enough to be able to be taught by Clarence Jones, who was Martin Luther King's personal lawyer. And so every once in a while he'd say, oh, I remember when Martin and I would stop occasionally and say, oh my God, he's talking about Martin Luther King. And to refer to someone, Martin Luther King, as Martin, and say, I remember when he did this. I remember this one night when we were talking about, I mean, it was incredible. And occasionally I would really, really press him to say, well, Professor, I feel like you have a story about that or something, because I loved hearing those kinds of stories. It's amazing to hear them talk about it. And now in law school, it's amazing to hear the professors talk about that kind of a thing too. Because they say, oh, I remember when I was filing this brief, and this is what this judge said, or this is what this client did, or something. And it's always really, really, really interesting. But you can't get those things unless they start talking to you, and you have to go and get them to start talking. You have to go and do the legwork at first. Your initial email to them has to say, here's what I think. This is my analysis. Is this correct? I would love to come and talk to you because you know and I don't. But you gotta initiate the conversation by doing a bit of work. I mean, the very basic things is you could say, I mean, every single firm has a website, or every single lawyer has a LinkedIn page. Go to that, or go to their firm's site and say, oh, okay, so this person does this, this, and this kind of a law. And then say, I'm interested in this kind of law. I see that you did this. This is what I'm really interested in. It seems like they're similar situations. I would really, really love to come and talk to you about those. I mean, people love when you do some of the work for them. Or you say, hey, these are my specific questions. And then allow them to opine. Always have a couple of questions in the back of your head that you don't tell them, because follow-up questions are a great thing. And they also show that you're listening. And if people feel appreciated and feel that you're listening to them, they'll want to talk to you. I mean, it's a good thing to have them talk to you. But number one, talk to them, okay? Because you really, really want to be able to get all that information. And the more you know, the better decision you'll make. I got my little list here. Number two, read. Read. There are cases. There are case briefs. There are opinions. There are books. There are news articles. I mean, there's a very prevalent reputation out there for lawyers. They're liars, they're greedy, and all those kinds of things. There are thousands and thousands of lawyers in the world. It's very possible that some of them are greedy. It's very possible that some of them are liars. If that were the case, then the profession probably wouldn't exist the way that it does, or the profession would realize there's a problem and amend the way that they do business in order to not have that. If there was a certification process for doctors, and all doctors misdiagnose patients all the time and messed up the way they do their procedures, then the profession would adjust, okay? That is simply not the case. I think it's very important to note what you know and what you do not know. And the legal profession is a very, very complex profession, and I didn't know a ton of things that I now know just 1 month into school. And so it's important to read about all these things. It's a great idea to go and read a court opinion. Just go onto Google and type in, sample court opinion, or type in, Roe v. Wade court opinion. I mean, just any of these things. And, admittedly, the higher up in the legal ladder you go, if you go and you read a Supreme Court case opinion, it's poetry. It is beautiful. Even the ones that you don't agree with, I don't particularly agree with Anthony Scalia, and yet he is an amazing writer. He is an incredible writer when it comes to legal opinions. And I mean, I have often come away from things that he's written saying, wow, I'm almost convinced. Like, it's incredible to read some of these things. So I would highly suggest that you go and read it. I also have another small plug. This is not my book. They didn't pay me or anything like that. But this book, it's called The Buffalo Creek Disaster. And this is actually required reading for a lot of incoming first-year law students. Because what it does is it tells a story mixed in with a lot of actually really, really specific legal details about what exactly the process is. You file a lawsuit. All right, okay, what exactly does that mean? First you have a complaint, then an amended complaint, and then you say, then here comes the motion to dismiss, and then and here's the demur, and here's the motion after motion after motion, and discovery. This is a story that happened in the 70s, I believe, 70s or 80s. And if I read it, a while ago, but it really tells a good story of exactly what a lawyer who's out of law school, who now kind of knows what they're doing, what their job is really all about. I wouldn't recommend using Legally Blonde as your template for whether or not you want to go to law school, although oddly many professors still bring that up. I feel like they just wrote that joke down back in the mid 2000s, and then they stuck with it and never really did that again. Although I don't know, I'm sure that motivated actually quite a few people to go to law school. It's hard, but this is a great book to go and really get just a most basic level understanding of what it takes to go and be a lawyer. And what you're going to do when you're going to be a lawyer. But I would also suggest reading a court opinion, because you're going to be reading a lot of those when you are in law school. Every single day, you're going to have at least 5 cases to read. And so you're going to want to read those. And you're going to want to see when you're in let's say you're reading a Supreme Court case. That case, you're going to see a lot of things in it that you don't really realize the amount of detail that the judges go through, but they're not the ones who are doing the work. They're not the ones who are going out and finding the cases or are really citing the cases. I mean, obviously they know that information by heart and they're given all these kinds of things, but the arguments, the things that are convincing the judges, that's all done by the lawyers. And then they take the fact pattern, they take the arguments, and they kind of say, okay, here's what matters, here's what doesn't matter, and here's now my opinion on the situation. But it's a lot of work. And you'll see direct quotes from at least a dozen other cases. You'll see paraphrases from a dozen other cases. And all this is work. All this is very, very detailed work, getting the point of the case, getting what each of these cases really addressed. Is this case similar to the one that we have at court right now, or is it dissimilar? If it's dissimilar, then sorry, those rules don't apply in this case. And so it's a lot of work, and it's a good idea to get a good understanding of exactly what that means and what you'll be getting yourself into. And number 3 is just basic understanding. This goes hand in hand with talking to people and reading about it. Okay, you're in the preliminary stages right now. Okay, you shouldn't be worrying about the LSAT. You shouldn't be worrying about briefing cases. You shouldn't be worrying about outlining in law school. You shouldn't be worrying about taking the bar exam. Okay, what you should be worrying about is am I making the right decision or not? Okay, you want to be able to come into any decision informed. You want to be able to understand what you're getting yourself into, the literal, all the obligations, the time obligation, the mental obligation, the financial obligation. I was amazed even just during our orientation, how many times professors have said, keep your hobbies. Make sure to keep your hobbies. Make sure to do something at least once or twice a week that keeps you sane. Make sure to keep your friends. Make sure that when you're talking about these things, because again, you're going to be doing this work if you decide to go to law school that is so consuming that you're going to start to realize that your thinking is different, that you're speaking differently, that when it comes to talking to certain people, something is going to go off in the back of your mind saying, oh, wait, those facts that you just gave did not match the reaction that you just had. And it's going to change you. You might lose friends. You might become that annoying person who can't stand to talk about anything else but legal stuff. And all the professor said, get ready for that, because that might happen to you. And so just guard against that. Again, I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from going to law school. I love law school. I love it. But it's a big decision. And so I want to make sure that all of you make the exact right decision. And if you do, come back for next week's video, okay? And then we're going to talk about studying for the LSAT. That's what we're going to talk about next. But either way, yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, comment on my brand new YouTube channel. I have another, not YouTube channel, but a blog, which is essentially mostly legal based, and it's FitzFile. So just go and look up the hashtag FitzFile and you'll find it. But other than that, thank you everyone so much for watching the video, and I hope to see you next week. So yeah.